Hello learners, I am Parikshit and welcome to another very exciting session on Unacademy CAT-alyst. In today's session, we are going to talk about all the details regarding your SNAP examination. Remember, CAT is only one of the many entrance examinations for B school admissions. So in one of our previous videos, we talked about the NMAT, and in today's session, I'm going to talk about the SNAP, the registration process, important dates, cutoffs, colleges accepting SNAP scores, and how you should be preparing for your SNAP. Let's get started. So this is me, Parikshit Saikia, your educator on the platform with the highest live class rating, thanks to my learners. A lot of happenings on Unacademy in the next few days. The 31st of July, we just started a practice drill batch where I am taking LRDI. This is going to be a weekend batch. 4th of August, a CAT specialist batch starts, and another batch for Maharashtra CET also starts on the 4th of August. Now, if you are interested for any of these batches, remember you got to enroll either to the Unacademy Plus plan or to the Unacademy Iconic plan. And when doing so, remember to use my code Parikshit Live. That will give you maximum discount while subscribing. Also, if you subscribe using my code Parikshit Live, you will get free mentorship from my side. I repeat, free mentorship. This is the only and only code which will offer you free mentorship. And mentorship is all about going beyond your class hours to help you out with any queries, any doubts while you're preparing for your CAT. Let's get started with today's session. Okay, fine. So first slide, right? I'm going to talk about the important dates for the SNAP exam pattern and other FAQs that you might be having while talking about the SNAP. If you have any queries and if you're viewing me live, you can post it in the comments. I'm going to answer it at the end of the session. Let's get started. Important dates. So the SNAP registration process, right, that will start in the 3rd week of August. So you should be prepared for the SNAP. 3rd week of SNAP, the registration starts and it will be available on the official SNAP website. So in another 15-20 days, the registration for the SNAP will start. Now, once the registration starts, this will continue, right? And in the month of October, late October, they will also release a SNAP mock test. So the SNAP mock test will give you a familiarity with the new exam pattern, right? You will get familiar with the interface and it will also help you to know the difficulty level of the exam. Also, the SNAP incentivize students to take up the mocks because they give you Flipkart vouchers for all the top performers in the mock, right? This registration, which will start in the month of August, this will continue till the last week of November, but definitely do not wait till the last week of November to register for the SNAP, right? So the last day to submit the application form and the exam fee will be somewhere in November. And then you'll be able to download the admit card onwards from December 2021 onwards, right? And then the SNAP 2021 exam will likely be conducted across 94 cities in India. And when is it happening? It will happen from 11 to 12 p.m. That's the time. And it generally happens a week before Christmas. So somewhere around 20th of December, right? The Sunday. It happens on a Sunday, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. across 94 cities of India. The SNAP exam will be held. And then when are the results coming out? Because it is an online exams, the results are available within 3 weeks. Within 3 weeks, the results will be available, 3rd week of January. So the results will be available. Correct? That's about the dates that you got to keep in mind. Upcoming date, month of August, 3rd week of August, when the registration for SNAP will start. Now let's look at the exam pattern for the SNAP. Now SNAP 2020, right? The exam pattern got revised. So initially, it was always a 2-hour paper for the SNAP, 2-hour paper for the SNAP. But last year onwards, SNAP 2020, it got revised to 60 minutes. So when I say 60 minutes, 1 hour, okay? So always the SNAP had 2 hours, 110 questions. But last year onwards, it is having 60 questions. And this year also, it is expected to have 60 questions. Why do I say 60 questions? The reason is very simple. this is the year of a pandemic again, right? This year again is a year of a pandemic. And when you have a year of a pandemic, you got to maintain social distance. When the social distances are in place, the number of systems that you need, right? The infrastructure requirements increases, because of which almost all exams, be it the CAT, be it the SNAP, be it the NMAT, the duration will get reduced so that social distancing measures can be in place and more batches can be put in place. More batches can be there, right? So this year also it is expected to be 60 questions. Initially, till SNAP 2019, till SNAP 2019, there were special questions and differential marking. What do you mean by differential marking? It means some questions had more marks compared to the others. As an example, up till 2019, you know what? LR always had the greatest weightage. Logical reasoning questions, 2 marks per question, while let's say verbal will have only 1 mark per question. So obviously students who are smart will attempt more LR questions because you tend to score 2 marks per question. But that was scrapped last year. So in 2020, every question had equal marks. There was differential marking was scrapped. So every question carried 1 mark and every negative answer meant minus 0.25. Minus 0.25. Unanswered, no marks. Then there are 3 sections in the SNAP. You will have English, you will have reasoning, okay? That's the second section. And the third is reasoning, and then the third will be QA and DI and DS. What is DS? DS is data sufficiency. So if you look at it, English has 15 questions. Out of the 60, 15 is English. Reasoning, which is verbal and non-verbal reasoning, 25 questions. And DI and Quants, 20 questions. So the most important section in your reasoning, in your paper, is the reasoning section with 25 questions. And the least important when it comes to the number of questions will be verbal, 15. One more very important aspect. There were no comprehension questions. No, absolutely no comprehension. 0 questions from RCs in SNAP in the 2020 paper. So if you are preparing verbal and you are preparing only RCs, you got to be in a lot of trouble because SNAP 2020 has 0 questions from RCs. It was only about grammar and critical reasoning. No RCs in SNAP 2020. Also, obviously, because of the pandemic, the 2021 exam pattern is expected to be the same as the last year. Correct? That about the exact pattern. I'm going to come to the cutoffs. Don't worry about that. Let's look at other FAQs. What is the application fee for the SNAP test? Now, the application fee for the SNAP test is 1750 rupees exam fee. 1750 exam fee. Now, you must be very careful here. Very careful about what? Let's say you decide to write the SNAP. Just filling up the form and paying the exam fee will not be sufficient. Before you go and write the SNAP exam, you also got to apply to the colleges separately. As an example, it would mean 1750 rupees, okay, is the exam fee. Plus around 1500 you will have to spend per college that you decide to apply. Let's say you just fill up the exam fee, you go and write the exam, nothing will happen. Even if you get 100 percentile, because you have not paid the fees for the college, right, and not applied to that college separately, you will not be eligible. So it means if you decide to apply tomorrow to SIBM Pune and SCMHRD Pune, right, exam fee will be 1750 and another 3000 rupees for the 2 colleges together. So per college 1500 in addition to the exam fee. That's very important. And you got to do that before you write the SNAP. Why? Because the logic is very simple. These are private colleges. They want to take money, right? They want to take money from almost, they want to make profit. So if you write the SNAP, you get to know how your paper went. So obviously, if your paper did not go well, you will probably not apply to SIBM Pune. So hence, the private colleges are very smart. You will have to apply to these colleges before you go and write the exam. Remember that. A lot of students make the mistake of not applying, and then even if you get a good result, you will not be eligible. Next, What is the process to get admission to SNAP 2021? What is the process? Okay, now I'm just rubbing it. There are too much information here. What is the process to get admission? Okay, so the admission process consists of 4 steps. First is the written exam, your written exam. Next will be a group task. A group task. If you clear the written exam, there will be a group task. Once the group task is done, next will be a written ability test. They will give you a topic. It could be anything. Let's say the farm laws, your views on the farm laws, your views on India's performance in the Olympics and how it could have been improved. Could be just anything, right? There's a written ability test and followed by a personal interview. So it's a 4-step process. The written exam, if you get shortlisted, the second will be a group task followed by a written ability test and then a personal interview. So it's a 4-stage process to get admission in the Symbiosis Institutes. Next, how many times can I appear in SNAP 2021? Now, the exam is held 3 times. Exam held 3 times and you can appear 2 out of the 3 times. 2 out of the 3 times. So the exam of the SNAP, right, it is conducted, last year it was conducted 3 times and you are allowed to appear for maximum 2 out of the 3 times. If you wish to appear for 1 time, you can appear for 1 time also. But if you decide to appear for 2 times, again, remember the bottom line, it's a private college, obviously, so you have to pay the fees also, the exam fee also, 1750, that application fee, you got to pay 2 times. If you pay 2 times, you will be eligible to write the SNAP 2 times and they will take the best out of the 2 attempts. So whichever exam you score higher, they're going to count that particular score. They're going to count that particular score. So out of the 3 times the SNAP is held, best you can appear for 2 times. Correct? Next, is there any reservation policy in SNAP? Yes. 15% seats are reserved for SC. Okay. Then 7.5% seats are reserved for ST, and then 8% for differently able, and another 5% for defense quota. So if your dad is working in, let's say, the army, okay, defense, you will get 5% defense quota, 15% scheduled caste, 7.5% ST, 8% differently able. So there is no OBC quota. There is no OBC quota for the Symbiosis Institutes. Okay, that's the next point. Next, what is the syllabus of SNAP 2021? The syllabus, as I just mentioned, consists of 3 parts: English, reasoning, which will also consist of verbal and non-verbal reasoning. And when I say non-verbal reasoning and verbal reasoning, we're going to talk more about it in details, right, when we appear for the SNAP mocks. But reasoning will consist of 2 parts, and the third is quants, along with data sufficiency. So what are the extra things that you got to know which you are not doing for your CAT? Data sufficiency is something you probably isn't doing for the CAT, right? So data sufficiency, you got to focus if you are preparing for the SNAP. What about RCs? Probably in verbal, all your focus, all your energy in English is on RCs. In the SNAP, last year there was 0 RCs, not even a single RC question. So your focus should be on grammar. Your focus should be on critical reasoning, right? And your focus should also be on verbal and non-verbal reasoning. Got it? Next, will SNAP 2021 be delayed due to COVID-19? Highly unlikely. Again, remember, these are private institutes. If they don't conduct the exam, if they don't have students coming and joining them, they tend to lose a lot of fees, right? A lot of money. So obviously, it will not be the case, right? So all private institutes and all colleges, they will mostly start on time. And remember, by December, a large population of the country will also be vaccinated. So obviously, the SNAP is going to be held, right, on time, the last Sunday of the month of December, generally a week before Christmas. Next, when will SNAP 2021 registration begin? As I already answered this, 3rd week of August. It generally starts around the 3rd week of August. And is there any age limit to appear for SNAP? Absolutely no. There is no age limit. Anyone can go and write the SNAP. Anyone can go and write the SNAP. Is there any eligibility criteria? Yes. Minimum 50% you need to have in graduation. minimum 50% you need to have in graduation to be eligible to write the SNAP. If you are an SC/ST, then it's 45%. If you are an SC/ST, then you it's 45%. Otherwise, you should have minimum 50% in graduation to write the SNAP. Next, other details. Let's get on to the other details, right? Okay. Next, as I said, let's look at the SNAP cutoffs. Okay, let's look at the SNAP cutoffs. Fine. Okay. Now, if you look at the SNAP cutoffs, right, this tells you, gives you a fair idea of the colleges, the top colleges under the Symbiosis University, under the International Symbiosis University. As you must be knowing by now, the top college under SNAP is SIBM Pune. And generally, the cutoff for SIBM Pune will be 98.5 percentile. So 98.5 percentile if you get, you can expect to get a call from Symbiosis Pune. And then the second best college is SCMHRD Pune, around 96 percentile. So these are by far the best colleges under the Symbiosis Institute, top 2 colleges. And remember, last year, so I'm talking about percentile, right? 98.5 and 96. If you look at the raw score, last year, the paper was out of total marks was 60. Total marks last year was 60, right? 1 mark per question. 1 mark per question. So if you are looking at 98 percentile, you are looking at somewhere around 45 to 47 marks. So out of 60, almost 45 questions you have to get correct to be amongst the top 2 percentile. And again, the scores might be frightening, might be scary. You might be thinking 45 is too high a cutoff. But remember, the questions are very, very, very easy. So the questions are so easy and students are so well prepared these days that out of 60 questions, only if you are able to solve around 45 to 47 questions will you end up with a 98 percentile and will you get a call from SIBM Pune, which is the top college. So what about SCMHRD? SCMHRD will be somewhere around 43 to 45 correct out of 60. Out of 60, and let me repeat, there is no negative marking in the SNAP. No negative marking. So out of 60, even if you are able to solve around 40 correct, and I think if you do blind guesses for around 20, out of the 20, you can get 3-4 correct, even if you blindly mark the answers, right? So do definitely try to get 40 correct for sure, and another 20, even if you do blind attempts, probably 3 to 4 will be correct out of those 20. So the overall score should be close to 45 to get a call from the top 2 colleges. What are the other colleges? Always remember, the cutoffs gives you an idea about the ranking of the colleges. So if you look at which is the third best college, very simple, look at the cutoff. The higher the cutoff, that indicates the demand for the colleges. So the third best college as per the cutoffs and as per the demand from students is SIIB Pune. But I personally believe that this is not a very good, I wouldn't say very good, but you will not aspire to be in this college. If you are aspiring, if you want to crack the SNAP, it has to be SIBM Pune or SCMHRD Pune. And for people, let's say, who have operations background, let's say you are a mechanical engineer, you have worked in a core company, let's say like Cummins, let's say like Tata Motors, or probably you are working in Flipkart, you have some amount of operations experience, then SIOM Nasik is a very good college for operations. Very, very good college for operations. But this is only for people who have core work experience, let's say Flipkart or an Amazon in supply chain, or probably you have worked with Tata Motors. So for people who have worked with core companies, this is a good college. If you have some work experience in Flipkart, Amazon, supply chain, then this is one college where you will have good placements, provided you have the relevant work experience. And then there are other colleges. SIBM Bangalore is there, SICSR Pune, SITM Pune. This is SITM Pune, right? Is for people who have IT background, some sort of IT background. This college is good. This college is good. You get to learn about machine learning. You get to learn a lot about analytics. So if you have some relevant IT background, SITM Pune is another college that you can look forward to. Okay. And then there is SIMS Pune and SCIT Pune. So these are the percentile cutoffs for the different symbiosis institutes. But remember, even if you are looking for the third or the fourth best college, right? Third or the fourth best college, your percentile should be around 90 percentile. So out of 60 questions, we expect you to get 37 to 39 correct. 37 to 39 correct for a 90 percentile and to be in the third best and the fourth best college under the Symbiosis University. Correct? So these are the cutoffs for different Symbiosis colleges. Next. Let's look at the selection criteria. Okay. Let's look at the selection criteria. Okay. Fine. If you look at the selection criteria and the top colleges, you already know the colleges that are accepting the SNAP scores. This is something we have already discussed, right? As per their cutoff, this is something we have already discussed. Now, remember how the final list is brought out. In the final admission that you get to the different Symbiosis colleges, 50% weightage is given to your SNAP exam score. So very, very high weightage. 50% weightage to your SNAP score. Then 10%. What is GE? GE is group task. It is a group exercise. GE means a group exercise. So group exercise, 10% weightage. What is an example of a group exercise? Let me give you an example. Some of you might be curious, okay? As an example, they might put you in a 10-member group, okay? They might put you in a 10-member group and they will give you a list of 15 items, okay? Giving you an example of a group exercise. They will form a 10-member group as an example and they give you a list of 15 articles, okay? And they will tell you that this group needs to go to the moon. This group, let's say, needs to go to the moon. So they will ask you two things. First, individually mark the importance of the items, which is the most important item. If you want to go to the moon, which is the most important item that you would want to carry out of the 15. The most important item, you will mark it as rank 1. The least important item, you will mark it as rank 15. So let's say most important item, let's say some of you will mark, let's say oxygen, the most important item. Let's say you mark it as rank 1. Similarly, you will mark another item from the group list as rank 2 and so on. This is part 1 of the puzzle. This is over. Once this is over, they will form the group. They will ask the group to come together and come out with a collective answer. Come out with a collective answer. So once they come out with a collective answer, let's say you will be given 10 minutes and the entire group brainstorms and they come out with a collective answer. And in that collective answer, let's say as an example, they are marking water as the most important item. Water as the most important item. Fine. So you have got two pairs of sheets now. One, your individual responses, and second, the group responses, right? The group needs to have one answer. So what will the invigilators do? They will compare both the sheets. They will compare both the sheets. And as an example, if something which you have marked as most important, but the group is marking, let's say oxygen as the least important, then the questions they will ask you in the interview is, don't you have convincing skills? Are your convincing skills very weak that you could not convince the group on your viewpoint? You think oxygen is most important, but when you met in a group, the group felt that oxygen is the least important. So do you lack convincing skills? Could be a question in your interview. On the contrary, you know what? You marked oxygen as number 1 and the group also marked oxygen as number 1. You marked item 2 as number 2 and the group also gives the same response. Then the question they will ask you is, are you very dominating? Don't you know how to work in a team? Because whatever are your answers, those are the group answers. Are you the dominating member in the group and do you believe in teamwork? Could be questions. So that would actually judge where you stand. So both ways, nothing is good, nothing is bad. It's not that your answer and the group answer has to match. It's just that it will show your personality traits and accordingly you will have to justify those traits when you come out of that group exercise. So very interesting activities. So but this is only for those who will get calls from the Symbiosis institutes. Correct? Next, 30% weightage to the personal interviews. What is PI? PI is obviously personal interview. And then WAT is the written ability test. 10% weightage. Written ability test, 10% weight. What does it mean? This is a boon. I think you should feel very good about it, especially those who have poor academics. Remember, there is absolutely no weightage to your 10 score, absolutely no weightage to your 12 score, and absolutely no weightage to work experience or your graduation score. So if you have fared poorly in your graduation and you always keep asking, I have only 60% in class 10 and 12, will I get admission in a good B school? This is the finest example. They have no weightage to your 10 and 12. And if you do well in your SNAP, if you do well in the personal interview and the group task and the written ability test, you are through. That constitutes 100% weightage for the final selection. Correct? Fine. Let's go to the next point. Okay. Next is the SNAP exam pattern structure. Okay. Exam paper structure of the SNAP. Let's look at the paper structure. So if you look at the paper structure, first is general English. Okay. So this is the 2020 SNAP paper structure and it more or less remains the same. The proportion of questions remains the same. So as you see, most important, no RCs. This is one of the rare exams where there is absolutely no RCs. So vocab, how many vocab questions were asked? Out of the 15 questions, okay, out of the 15 questions, 11 questions were from vocabulary, in verbal, and those were easy ones. Remember, all of them will have options, Next, out of the 15 questions, 2 were from grammar, and other categories are 2. Other categories are also 2. So total 15 questions and all of them were easy questions. 15 questions in total from your verbal section. Next, when you come to reasoning, okay, that's the next section in your SNAP, reasoning. If you look at reasoning, there are 2 parts to reasoning. Remember, unlike the CAT, reasoning has got 2 parts, verbal reasoning and non-verbal reasoning. What is verbal reasoning? It probably tests your skills on verbal. As an example, they will give you syllogisms. What are syllogism example? All cats are dogs, all dogs are boys, all boys are schools. Such questions, if you have seen, you might have seen it somewhere, they will ask you, and these are asked often in the CAT. Last year, there was one question from syllogism. Then, statement and course of action. So, they will give you that there was a flood in the nearby area. As the local MP of your constituency, what course of action should you follow? So, they will list out 3 courses of action and they will ask you which of these courses of action could be followed or can be strongly followed. So, such questions, 2 of them. Then conclusion based questions, assumptions. They will give you a paragraph and they will ask you which of these concludes the paragraph. They will give you a paragraph and they will ask you which of these might be an assumption to this paragraph. Okay. And then analogies. What are analogies? They will give you if A is to B, then they will ask you C is to what? So they will give you a relation. It could be a state, a country and a capital and a state and a capital. And then another state they will give you. You have to derive the relation from A and B and find out what will C and D be. So it could be, let's say be Assam, Dispur. So you need to recall that, okay, it probably is asking you the capitals. So Andaman and Nicobar, what? Such questions, okay. Next, so this is your verbal reasoning, which is not there in your CAT. In CAT, it's there, but it's there in the English part, in the English section. In CAT, in SNAP, this will be a part of your reasoning section. Then comes the non-verbal reasoning. Non-verbal reasoning will be puzzle-based questions. Number series. What are number series? They will give you some patterns, right? 1, 2, let's say 5, 7, and they will say dash. Fill in the blanks. What is the next number in the series? Such questions, you know what? Very, very important. Every year they ask around 4 to 5 such questions. 4 to 5 such questions. Fill in the number series. So you got to practice a lot on the number series. Then there are other puzzles like your CAT. Then clock-based questions. What are clock-based questions? Clock-based questions could be, what would be the angle between the 2 hands of a clock at 9:40 a.m.? So such questions, clock-based questions. Then blood relations, sequential output. Sequential output could be a machine is given a certain output. So there are certain sequences and there will be a final output. You need to derive the output based on the input. We will do it in the class. Don't worry about it. Then circular arrangements, calendar-based questions, coding. What is coding based questions? Coding based questions could be a man is coded as, let's say, $#3, and let's say boy is quoted as something else. So they will ask you to find out the relation, the code. What is M coded as? What is A coded as? So such questions are also appearing in the snap in recent days. And then there was one question based on physics knowledge. Again, probably you will not be able to prepare for that, right? So such questions are blind guesses, and I must tell you, there is no negative marking in the CAT snap. No negative marking. So you can just go on and tick something even if you don't know the answer. What about quants? In quants, DI and DS, right? This is one section. Data interpretation and quants are together in the snap as well as the NMAT. Arithmetic, as always, the most important part. 8 questions in arithmetic out of a total 20. Modern maths. What is modern maths? Modern maths is PNC, probability and set theory. PNC, probability and set theory, 5 questions. There were 2 questions from geometry, 2 questions from numbers. Algebra is not very important. Again, in the NMAT and in the SNAP, and the algebra section is not very important.